everyone, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 8 of my 2019 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be making a card using a whole bunch of Lawn Fawn sets, including Ho Ho Holidays, Holiday Helpers, Christmas Dreams, Toboggan Together, and Forest Feast. So I have stamped out all of my images onto some Nina Solar White cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers. Now there are quite a lot of images on today's card and quite a bit of coloring, so I'm going to jump right in. I'm using E50, E51, and E53 for all of the skin tones of Mrs. Claus and the two L's, and also for the lighter portions of the little reindeer's body. So I'm going to put my shadows in with the E53 and then blend out with the E51 and then do a little highlight with the E50. Now I would prefer normally to do like some different skin tones. I think that would be something fun and cool to do since there's all types of people in this world. But I just wanted to keep things really simple for today because there's so much going on with the coloring. So that's why I decided not to do that and just to keep it really basic. So I'm moving on to my little reindeer's body, and for the darker parts now I'm using E53, E55, and E57. I'm doing some shadows with that E57, like on his shoulders, right under his head where that would be casting a shadow. Also on his back legs and belly where his front legs would be casting a shadow. And then a little bit on either side of his head and on the end of his nose, just to make it look nice and rounded. And because it's like narrower there, I thought there would be a shadow. And then just blending out with that E55 and then filling in with the E53. So he's almost all done except for the hooves, but I'm going to get to those later. I'm also going to color the mantle while I have these markers out, and I'm kind of doing it a little bit messy because I want it to have that wood grain look, and so I don't want it to be really perfect with the shading. I tried to put a little bit of streakiness in there. Then I'm going to take away the E53 and add in the E59 and use those markers to color in the little girl elf's hair. So I'm trying to kind of keep with similar color palettes, but just kind of remove a lighter and add in a darker so that we're still in the same tone and family of those browns, but it'll just be another dimension of it. I'm also going to color in some of the little food on the plate, and that is going to be the reindeer's dinner. And then I'll move into some warm grays, the W00, W1, and W3 for Mrs. Claus's hair. I started with that W00 just at first because I wasn't sure how dark I wanted to go with that. And then I built my way up. I don't normally color lightest to darkest, but I just thought in this particular case, that I didn't want to get heavy-handed. I get nervous when I do hair because it's not something I do a lot. And I just wanted to, start light and add the dark as I was more comfortable. So I just did a little bit of streakiness in there for some hair strands and then blended back down with the W1 and then the W00 to kind of soften everything together. And then I'm also going to use those warm grays to color in her little shirt and the lace at her throat and then her apron that's over her dress as well. And I did a little bit of pleating at the bottom just by drawing up those lines where the scallops are. I did that with the W3, and then I'm going to soften those as I go down with the W1 and then the W00 so it kind of just fades into the rest of the fabric. I'm also going to use those to color in the little girl elf's Santa hat, and I also colored in the kitty with these grays as well. So my idea for this card was to kind of like tie into the last card, which was Santa snowboarding and delivering his gifts that way. It was like a modern day Santa. So this is like back at the Claus's house while Santa's out, and now it's Mrs. Claus's turn to kind of just give everybody cookies and their dinner and just feed everybody and make sure that they're having a relaxing evening because all the work has been done. So it's her turn to shine. Anyway, so I'm going to use W5, W7, and W9 to color in the little reindeer's hooves. I actually just used W7 for those, but I'm going to use all three shades to color in the back of the fireplace. So I just started with that darkest, the W9 down at the bottom, and then I'm blending up with the W7, and then I'll use the W5 up toward the top. Then I'll use G21, G24, and G28 to do Mrs. Claus's little dress. So I'm going to add a little bit of shading up under her head where her shoulders are, and then also on the bottom of her skirt where it is kind of gathered at the waist with the apron, and then blend down with the G24, and then soften that up with the G21. I really love this combo. I think it makes her dress look almost like velvet. And then I'm also going to color in another little piece of the reindeer's dinner. I just thought he should have some kind of vegetable on there as well. And then the little fish gift as well. So that's going to be some greens. I thought that might be something different and fun. So I just started at the bottom with the G28 and then blended up with the G24 and then a little G21 at the very top. I also colored in the boy elf's outfit with those same greens and his hat. And now moving on to the little rug, and I'm using RV00, RV10, and RV11. I'm doing the RV11 on both the left and the right, and then pulling towards the center with the RV10. And then I'm going to fill in the middle with the RV00. This is quite a bit lighter, so I'm just going to scrub over the edge of that RV10 until everything is nice and soft. And then I also colored in the little girl elf's leggings with those, and one of the coffee mugs. I gave the apple a little bit of pink tone that I'm going to put underneath the reds that I'm going to use later. But I just wanted there to be kind of like a little bit of a softer color at the top there. And then I also did decide to give both the little girl elf and Mrs. Claus some rosy cheeks with that RV10. I'll use Y32 and Y26 to color in the boy elf's hair. This is a good combo for some blonde. So just a little Y26 at the top and then blend it out with the Y32. I'm also going to use these colors for their little gold belt buckles and one of the pieces of food that's left on the reindeer's plate, and the fire as well. I decided to use that same color combination. I didn't want to bring in some orange and kind of change up the color palette, although I will pull in kind of a little bit more of an orangey yellow, just because I felt like it didn't really look like fire. So I went ahead and grabbed the Y38 and just added a touch of that in there. Moving on to my reds, I'm using R29, R39, and R59, and I'm going to do the little girl's outfit and her hat in those shades, and then also the Christmas bow and the other mug and the apple, pretty much all the other details except for the fireplace. And the reason I hadn't colored the fireplace up until now is because I wasn't sure what color palette I wanted to go with. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do red brick or a brown brick or a gray brick. There was different options, and it really was going to depend on which pattern paper I'm going to end up using in the background for the wallpaper. So I kind of left that until the end because I just hadn't made a decision yet. And I was kind of seeing how the rest of the coloring was coming together. I wanted to be sure that there was going to be enough pops of red on the card, but like I said, I ended up doing quite a few of these little accessories, including the plates and everything as well, the bow on the little fish gift. So I felt like there was enough red by the time I got to the end of the card, and so I am going to end up going with grays for the bricks, and I'll show you how I did that in just a minute. To blend that pink in with the red on the apple, I just brought back the RV11 to go over that transition back and forth until it was nice and smooth. And now I'm ready to go ahead and do the bricks. And the way that I did it is I'm going to lay out a whole bunch of warm gray markers. I'm using W00, W1, W3, W5, and W7. On each brick, I'm going to use 3 of them. So first I'm going to pick out a couple that are going to be the darkest bricks, and I'll use W7 for the shadows, and then I'm going to blend out towards the left. I'm going from the bottom right to the top left of each of those bricks. So I'm blending out with the W5, and then I'm going to use the W3 as my highlight. Once I have all of the dark bricks filled in, I'm going to move on to my medium toned bricks. Now I'm starting with W5 and doing my shadows with that. Then I'm going to pull that out with the W3, and the W1 is going to be my highlight. And then when I get to the last couple bricks here, I'm going to start with the W3, so that's going to be my darkest, and then I'll blend out with the W1 and finish with the W00. And you can see that I'm not really being perfect with this. I want this to be stone, so I want there to be imperfections. So I didn't blend out everything perfectly. And then I'll just trim all of these images out with the matching dies. So now I'm moving on to my sentiment. I have popped a scrap of Lawn Fawn chili pepper cardstock into my Misty, and I'm treating that with an EK Success powder tool. And then I'm going to stamp out my sentiment in Versamark ink. So it's going to say, I believe it says, "May you get everything you wish for." And I stamped that down twice and then just pressed it down lightly so that you didn't have any like squishing of the letters. I coated that with some white embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat set that from the back first to eliminate any warping, and then I'll take that to the front and melt that until it's nice and shiny and bright white. While I have my Misty out, I'm also going to stamp on the inside of my card, and I'm using speckled eggshell cardstock for my card base from Lawn Fawn and freshly cut grass ink. I just thought that the speckled eggshell is kind of like a homey look, and it just tied in well with the whole Mrs. Claus kind of feeding her troops theme. So I'm using a piece of pattern paper from the Snow Day Remix pattern paper pack from Lawn Fawn. So you can see I did go with the red for the wallpaper. So I adhered that flat to the card. And then I'm going to take the peekaboo backdrops, and I have die cut that 3 times out of some narwhal cardstock. So I'm going to take some liquid glue and just add that all over the back of the first die cut. And then I will carefully adhere that to the card, just making sure to line that up with all the edges. And then I also ran this through with a little bit of dolphin cardstock just so I could get those inside pieces, which I trimmed down. I believe they were maybe a ½ inch or a quarter of an inch. No, they must be like a quarter of an inch. And I just wanted to have something that would serve as the floor. Most of this is going to get covered up, so you're not going to see much of it, but there will be a little bit showing. So I just needed something super flat that would work for all 4 of my scenes. I'm going to adhere my images now. I'm starting with the little rug that is going in the first little square window. And then the fireplace is going to go next to that into the rectangular window on the right. So I'm trying to make like an extended scene across those panels. So the little kitty is going to be sleeping on her rug by the fireplace. And then in the top right corner, we're going to have Mrs. Claus holding her plate of cookies. I think she is so cute. I just love this image. And I don't think that she gets enough credit. So I wanted her to have a day to shine as well. So in the bottom larger rectangle, we're going to have the 2 little worker elves. They are celebrating a job well done. They're going to be clinking their coffee cups and enjoying the cookies that Mrs. Claus is about to bring over to them. And that's one of the reasons that I like using liquid glue, is because I had a little bit of time to fiddle and make sure that everything was placed just right so it would look like those mugs are touching. And then in my last little square, we're going to have Rudolph, or not Rudolph necessarily, but a reindeer enjoying his supper. And he also has an apple for dessert when he gets done. So the only image I have left is the little bow that's going to go up on the mantelpiece. So I'll just slide that under the edge. And then I can grab my remaining other two die cuts from the peekaboo backdrops and adhere those over top. And you really don't need to. I mean, you could leave it just as one, but having that additional little bit of height just gives it a little bit more stability, and it just makes it feel like a little bit more significant. So I'm going to adhere those directly over top. And then I have trimmed down my sentiment using one of the everyday sentiment banners. So I can pop that out of the die cut, and then I'm going to adhere that with some more liquid glue right across the center bar. And it says, "May you get everything you wished for." So it just ties in. Mrs. Claus is delivering her cookies. The cat has his fish. The elves are celebrating with their cocoa. And even Rudolph has his dinner. So all of that was to tie in with the sentiment. I'm going to finish off the card with a little bit of crystal stickles just to give everything some nice sparkle and shine. I added it to the bows and the fire and the plate that Mrs. Claus is holding with the cookies on it. Also the apple and the coffee mugs or cocoa mugs and the belt buckles of the little elves. And the reindeer's nose as well. So I just made sure that every little section had a bit of sparkle in it. And I'm going to lift that up to the camera now so you can see how it catches the light. So pretty, that stickles. And then I'll give you another peek at the inside. It says, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas." And that is going to complete my card for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I know this was a bit of a longer one. These scene cards do take a little bit longer to make, so I hope you bared with me. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I have lots more cards planned for this holiday card series and all kinds of new ideas for the new year. So if you'd like to keep on watching, here is day 8 of the previous 2 years of holiday card series. And I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye-bye.